because we have the largest reserves of renewable energy in Africa, there is an attempt to make it look like it is very expensive to unlock these renewable energy resources.
The African Union heads of state and government are committed to accelerate the establishment of an African migratory union by harmonizing migratory zones and creating 3 African Union financial institutions: the African Central Bank, ACB, the African Migratory Fund, AMF, the African Investment Bank, AIB, and creation of a Pan-African Stock Exchange, PASE. So this is a speech from President of Kenya, William Ruto.
But nobody is telling us that on the whole, renewable energy ultimately is much more efficient and is cheaper in the long run. So those who want to tell us it's expensive to upfront investment in renewable energy, we need to tell them, don't tell us half the story, tell us the whole story. That yes, it may be heavy upfront, but long term, ultimately, it is cheaper, it is much more efficient, it is what we must do. And that is why in Dubai, we had the Africa Green Industrialization Initiative, where we decided that it's time to begin to move this conversation on the potential we have in our continent into steps of reality by making sure that we work collaboratively and establish between 2, 3, 4, 5 countries how we can work together to establish green industrialization facilities, look at innovative ways of making sure that we make this a reality. Because ultimately, if we don't do it, those who have other resources will continue to push for what their resources will bring onto the table. We must bargain with what we have. We are a continent of great potential. It is time, not just to say great potential, but to move it into opportunity and take it into investment and bring it into reality. So I am very happy that both at the African continent level, as has been suggested by President Nana, we must do something about us, our institutions, and even leverage on the resources that we have. But we must also influence the global financial architecture by making sure that we become part of the design of the next global financial architecture. Let me conclude by saying that as part of this conversation, I did have a conversation with the president of the World Bank, and we agreed that as a means of walking the talk on concessional financing being made available, especially to countries in the global south, and especially countries with low income who are facing serious and severe debt issues. This year, we are going to have the IDA Replenishment 21 conference and summit in Nairobi in April, so that we can also drive the whole fundraising around IDA that is going to give us resources that are concessional and help the multilateral development banks to also get those resources and eliminate hurdles and unnecessary bureaucracies that are limiting access to those finances and even the fundraising of those finances. I want to invite my colleagues, and we will be discussing in the summit how we package our interventions, our ideas on what IDA should look like going into the future, and how we use such instruments to help us raise additional concessional financing that can be accessed by our countries, because IDA is almost 90% countries in the global south who are beneficiaries. So I quite agree with what my good brother has put across, and I look forward to having a conversation with all of us in Nairobi on IDA and working with the rest of the donor community and the international community on how this can be made a reality. Finally, I have said, hopefully in this summit, we will finally endorse the African Club and make these institutions and give them the stamp of approval that they so much need for them to raise resources globally and to be able to support our own development. Let me, in the interest of time, let me leave it there for today. I had something which I wanted to say, which is escaping my mind. But let me say that I'm very happy that we are having this conversation. And by God's grace, I am very confident that with what we are doing now, the actions we are taking, we should be able to be in a better place shortly. Thank you very much. Been done by President Akufo-Addo. When you spoke about what we need to do as a continent, it quickly reflected on what we said in Nairobi at the Africa Climate Summit. And we have been consistent, whether it is in Nairobi or Paris or New York or Dubai, where we came from the COP28, our message has been consistent. And I think today we are very happy that the whole world has come around. There was a time when a conversation about the global financial architecture debate looked like it was an us versus them debate. I'm very happy that today, every capital and North and South have agreed that there is something fundamentally wrong about the global financial architecture. And I think recognition that the problem exists is actually half the solution, because you can't solve a problem if you don't think it exists. I think we have made the case sufficiently, and today every capital believes that there is a problem with the global financial architecture and something must be done about it. And therefore, we must lead on all fronts. And I agree with President Nana that I think he told us, God helps those who help themselves. Let me paraphrase it. The Bible says, faith without works is dead. I mean, you can't believe in something and then you do nothing about it. So this is why the realization that there is something to be done about the global financial architecture, as the people from Africa in this AU setup, we decided in Nairobi that we're not going to take the corner of victims and to try and point fingers and blame game. We're going to do something about it, and we're going to be part of the solution. And I am very happy that this morning, President Nana has made two fundamental proposals which I wholly support. Number one, he has made a proposal that we must empower our own African financial institutions, multilateral institutions. He has made a proposal that 30% of all our reserves that are in all manner of places, earning sometimes negative interest. We should make it available to our African multilateral financial institutions. I agree 100%. It is a step in the right direction, and we are doing something ourselves about it, about the whole global financing, development financing architecture. I also support the proposal that we put a stamp of approval on these institutions and make them AU agencies. They must carry our badge of approval so that even as they operate, they are given the proper recognition that they serve this continent. President Orama here of Afriexim knows when I came into office, the first thing, I increased Kenya's shares in his organization because we believe in African organizations. My good brother Tadese there of Trade Development Bank knows we paid more as Kenya into his organization. We must match what we say with what we do. So I am encouraged that Nana is now pushing the whole continent into the space where we can formally and unequivocally support these institutions. I also agree that instead of globe-trotting and going to every other place, we need to organize our own development, financing, economic summit, where we invite those who want to do business with us to come and engage with us. I think it's only fair. We have made good our part of the bargain. We have gone to many capitals. Surely it is time for them to come to ours also. And I think we won't be asking for too much. And I will take up the challenge, President Nana. If it is agreed that that be the case, I will offer to host the first summit. But even as we do this here in our continent, we must never shy away from taking our ideas, our suggestions into the global stage. And that is why Kenya is participating both, and we are co-leading both the task force on international taxation to scale up development, climate and nature action,